It's that time of year again, and if you are dreading going home because you know the way that you came to regress to a version of your former self when you are around family, then this video is going to be for you. If you're new here, my name is Wes. I'm a therapist based in Chicago, and this channel is devoted to helping you improve your mental health in relationships. Let's talk about first why, when you go home, you seem to regress to a former version of yourself that may not be the version of yourself that you want to act like today. Family can be triggering, and the reason behind that is really inherent in the way that our brain works. Our brains are prediction machines, and they are specifically designed to respond to new experiences based on those past experiences. For example, if you're trying to learn a new sport, then your brain doesn't have to learn how to walk all over again. In fact, it doesn't even need to learn how to catch or kick a ball, because maybe in your past, you've been in a situation where 1, you had to walk, 2, you had a ball thrown at you. And because of that, your brain pulls from these past experiences and thinks, okay, based on what I've seen before, I am able to predict that this type of thing is going to occur in this new situation, and we should therefore respond to it in a similar way as we have in the past. Okay, so that's how our brains work, and it's constantly working in overdrive to figure out ways to cut corners, to remember things that have happened in the past and base more of your current actions and behavior off of those past experiences. That allows your brain to free up energy to learn new things, to interpret new data as it comes in, because it's already relying on so much of this other stuff from your past. And often those things that happen automatically are really kind of burned into our brain through the formation of neural pathways. So that really helps us get through the world most of the time. It can be really, really helpful for the way that we operate in the world as humans. The issue, of course, becomes when this kind of prediction machine is based on outdated data. What happens when you go back home is that your brain looks at the environment that you're in. Maybe it's an old family home, maybe it's the people that you're around, and it says, oh, I know these people, I know this place. With these people in this place, I should act in this way in order to best interact, in order to live in the most appropriate way. Terry Real calls this the adaptive child version of ourselves. And this shows up a lot in relationships, especially when you enter a relationship with someone who reflects aspects of one of your parents, for example. You encounter that version of them, your brain thinks, oh, this is very similar to this other person who I've known, and causes your body and your behavior in a certain way with that person. You see this a lot in people who have been traumatized, where they may reenact a certain behavior from a traumatic event. So that's the reason why when you go back home, you may feel like you are regressing to certain types of behaviors or ways of feeling that you are not used to actually feeling, as an adult. So that's why when you go back home, you may find yourself regressing to this other way of being, this more childlike way of being. It's because your brain is used to being a child around those people or in that place. And therefore, it encourages you to behave in a way that is in alignment with that version of yourself, instead of the newer version that you've been working on trying to improve since you left the house. This seems to happen a lot. How do we end up preparing best for these situations with our family so that we can live this better version of ourselves? Well, the first step here is to understand the triggers that might occur. I would sit down with yourself and do some reflecting on what are the things that really tend to drive me crazy when I'm around my family, or sit down with a significant other or a close friend, someone who can act as kind of a third party and tell you, oh yeah, when you're around your family, you actually do this thing a lot. And it's very different than the way that I see you now as an adult. That can be really helpful to understand the types of triggers that might occur when you get into that situation. I would spend some time reflecting and try to write those things down as much as you can. Step 2 is to reframe the triggers with your family. Maybe you find that when you're around your family, get curious about the why your family members act in a certain way towards you. Are they acting out their own unresolved insecurities or outdated beliefs? So here's an example. I had a client recently who was going home. He was very nervous about interacting with her mom because her mom had very strong beliefs about the type of career that she should have in order to live a successful life. Now, this client is very successful in the career that she's in. It's not the career that her mom wanted for her, but she's very successful nonetheless. And she knows that really she's doing a great job in life and has a lot to be proud of. The problem is that whenever she goes home, her mom starts commenting on her career and doing so in a way that comes across as very judgmental. So thinking about the why behind why her mother might be responding in that way helps us think about how to reframe this situation. Her mom is probably commenting on her career because she cares about her, because she really is worried that she made the wrong choice career-wise and maybe will be unstable financially or something in the future. And that probably comes from her mom's own insecurities of feeling financially unstable or feeling worried about her daughter isn't going to do as well as she did. By understanding the why behind that, we can empathize a little bit with our family member. We can understand why they might respond in that way, and that can help us, I think, come from a more grounded place when we choose how we want to respond. So you're not just angrily pushing back on them saying, why do you always comment on my career? I can't believe that after all this time, you still think that my career is invalid. Instead, you can respond from a place of empathy and say, I know that you must be worried about me, but I just want to tell you, you don't have to anymore. I'm actually taking care of myself pretty well, and I'm actually really proud and happy of the career that I chose, even if it wasn't your choice. So number 3 is to set an intention of how you want to show up. So you've done all of this prep work, right? You've thought about the types of things that might come up for you. You've thought about the why behind why your parents, your family might be bringing these things up in the first place. Well, the next step is to really set your own intention. How do you want to show up when you're with them? I would start by asking, what emotion do I want to feel this holiday? Maybe it's peace, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's just happiness and joy. And then ask, what would I be doing if I were to feel this way? Think about the types of behaviors that are associated with feeling that type of emotion. If your intention is peace, think about what makes up peace. Is it feeling patient? Is it feeling like you have enough space to speak your mind? Feeling supporting, simply having enough time to relax. And think about the behaviors that might be inherent in that. Maybe it's taking some time for yourself during the time that you're around your family. Maybe it's when somebody brings up a conversation around politics, holding up your hand and saying, hey guys, I love y'all, but I really don't want to talk about that right now. And giving yourself permission to leave the conversation if you need to. Think about how you want to show up, the types of emotions that you want to feel in that moment, and the behaviors that are associated with actually feeling that feeling. The next step is really around emotional regulation in the moment. So we have good intentions going into these situations with our parents or our family, but it doesn't always work out the way we want it to. Sometimes you might still feel yourself getting really activated. And honestly, that's probably going to happen. These neural networks that were formed in childhood are really strong, and it's hard to feel like you're breaking out of them successfully. So it can really help to stay grounded in the moment. When you're entering a conversation with your family, pay attention to what's going on in your body. Am I feeling stiff? Am I feeling tight? Is my heart racing? Am I breathing really heavily? These can all be signs that you're feeling anxious or nervous or activated. When you notice those things, either take a strategic timeout, leave the conversation, go to the bathroom, do some deep breathing, or in the moment, try to calm your body. A good way to do this is while you're talking to someone, you notice that your heart is racing a little bit. Pay attention to why that might be, and take a second in the conversation to mentally check in with your body, breathe, and will your heart to slow down. By focusing inward, we can mindfully tune to what's going on for us and be more grounded in the moment. Here's a pro tip as well, which is to bring something small with you. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they hand out coins, which can be really helpful for people who are struggling with alcoholism to reference occasionally when they are in a situation where they might be tempted by alcohol. They can feel the coin in their pocket, rub the coin, take it out, look at it as a reference point to remind themselves, I've been a year, 2 years sober, and do I really want to give that up for taking a drink in this experience? The same can be true of changing your behavior with your family. Bring something that's significant to you and maybe encapsulates how you want to be acting in this new stage of your life. This can be lots of different things, whatever feels significant to you. Keep it around in your pocket or take a picture of it and bring that up on your phone. And when you're in the bathroom trying to calm down, take a look at that to remind yourself of the reason for trying to behave differently. The next step is after the holidays are done, reflect and reset. Especially with New Year's coming up, reflection, that was a big thing on a lot of people's minds. And so one thing that you can do is after you're done being around your family, sit down and reflect on how it went. Did you really feel like you regressed completely to that earlier version of yourself? Check in with a partner if your partner was there with you, or a close friend, or your therapist, and discuss how things went and set some goals for how you could do better next time. And the big thing here is to also celebrate the wins. I think too often we get get caught up in all the things that we've done wrong or not good enough. Instead of getting caught up in that, celebrate the things you did right. Maybe it's simply all the prep work of setting an intention or even thinking about the triggers before you went into that situation. Even if you didn't respond the way that you wanted to, doing that prep work is important because it reminds you of the way that you want to behave and the version of yourself that you want to be putting into the world. Celebrate the little things and give yourself some credit where it's due. All right. I really hope that this advice helps you out if you're going home for the holidays and are worried about how you might respond. And if this video was helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Please share with somebody who might find it helpful. And I'm going to be doing a video next on reflection and goal setting. So please take a look at that one next. All right. Goodbye.